Good morning.
Hello, everybody. I am going to attempt to do the Inav Series 4, but I wanted to show a couple things on here, and I also have a video from somebody else. Hopefully, he doesn't get mad for me showing a little bit of his stuff, because me and his stuff is a little bit different, but a lot alike. So, first of all, I want to show you, let me make this full screen here. So we have that, and this is his video. So first I want to show you all the nav launch. So if you go to github.com/inav/inav/blob/master docs or master/docs/settings.md, it shows you all this, and everything with the nav FW launch is launch mode stuff. So the way it's set up, it'll kind of give you an idea of what everything is. And so stock is all these settings like launch detect time, idle throttle. My detect time, my idle throttle are different. Also, I think the angle's the same. Motor delay is definitely different, and launch throttle is definitely different, and spin up time is different. So let me go to basically how they're saying set it up, which this is kind of what I do. You know, you set it up on a switch. You arm the plane, and you put the switch on to nav launch first, and then you hit your arm switch. Now, in here, if you have your forward throttle launch at 1,000, your motor probably doesn't spin, because if you're running BL Heli 32, it'll probably just be there, but you don't know if it spins. And a lot of people do this whole, like, they shake it and then it starts going and then they throw it kind of thing, and that's something I'm not into. Different strokes for different folks, but I'm going to show you a little bit of this guy. He basically goes through. Now this is Adam G, does FPV. He has a Z-Con in here, and he also has an AR wing. But let me show you this here.
To be thrown as hard to activate launch mode. Next setting I altered was the launch throttle. The default value is 70% throttle, which probably would have been okay.
That he's changed the launch velocity from 300 to 150, which I have done that.
Launch mode
basically, it's a forward launch threshold for when you launch your wing. It detects the velocity. The higher the number, obviously, the more force you have to throw the wing with.
Delay. And basically, this is the time between iNav detecting the launch and the throttle starting. The default value.
So forward launch throttle, what he has is 1900, and that depends on your wing. And obviously, if you're running a 6S setup or an 8S setup with a flight controller, or if you're running just a cruising wing, like if you're running those high-powered ones, you want this to be like 1500, because you're hauling ass at that point. For me, I believe on my mini Drac, I had it at 1900, and the motor delay, he has his at 0. 500 is stock, which is in milliseconds, so it's a half a second. This is the most crucial line right here. I have mine set to 50, and that's like as soon as you let go of the wing, it starts. Timeout. This is in milliseconds, so this is 5 seconds. He has his set at 10 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and play this a little bit.
Is 500 milliseconds, which is half a second. So if you're worried about the prop catching your hand or something like that, then leave it as it is.
He basically just shows you kind of
to flick a switch and manually
he has his on always.
This isn't a problem if you decide you don't want to use auto launch. To disable it or to cancel it,
he has it always on.
You simply move the right stick.
I don't do that, and it's good to know what he said. If you have yours on always on, as soon as you arm your wing, it's waiting. If you touch your roll or your elevator or your elevon, it's gonna turn off auto launch. So that's basically how, if you throw the wing and you don't touch your radio, it goes on until that timeout is on, or timeout times out. So basically, if you somewhat hit or check for your high five stuff on your control surfaces, your auto launch is going to turn off. That's first and foremost. Second of all, if you just jerk it a little bit, and I don't mean that to sound bad, but if you kind of bump your wing, it might go into launch. I mean, it's in launch mode. It might go off. So that's why I don't do this permanently on. But that, different strokes for different folks. But then he basically shows you, let's see here. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show you too. I'll let him go.
The nav launch, which is just here, in the same way that you would configure any of the modes or the arming switch. So you click add the range and select your channel. Yeah. That's the first option. The second.
That's the first option. That's the one he doesn't do. That's the one that I do as well do. So that's basically that. Now let me do this. Let me show you my settings. So right here are my settings. I have the forward launch velocity at 150, just like I was saying, stock. Here, let's do this and see if I can kind of do it. Idle throttle, that's at 1,000 for stock. Well, my idle throttle is at 1,200. So if essentially is what happens is if you flick your switch for auto launch, and it won't do anything until you hit the arm switch. But if you hit the arm switch and it's set down here at 1,000, your prop isn't going to spin, so you don't know if it's on or not. I have mine set at 1,200, so it's almost like, it's like 10% throttle. So as soon as you arm your wing, if it goes into like an idle, you know that it's on. And you can have your throttle, at 100% or at 50% or at 0, as long as you arm and that thing kind of starts going, you know that it's on. So that's my fail safe, so to speak, to auto launch. My motor delay is at 50, like I was saying. So max angle I have at 45. I never want to climb more than 45 degrees, and it does a pretty good job. This is stock right here, the Launch Excel. You can put it down. Let's see here. Max angle, spin up time to bring the power from, this is another thing too. So spin up time, I have mine set to 100, which is default. And the reason why is it is the time to bring the power from minimum throttle to Inav forward launch throttle. So if you have your launch throttle set to, let's just say for giggles, 1800, and you have a wing that has some torque roll, if you keep this at default, it's not going to automatically jam it to that as soon as it leaves your hands. It's going to, it doesn't do it slowly, but it doesn't do it super fast. So you're not going to have the torque roll if you keep this at 100, that's for sure. Max, well, let's just start from here again. So the set nav forward launch detect time is 40. I think detect time here, let's see here. Max altitude throttle detect time is 40, which is stock. And then my nav launch throttle is 1900. So low end is 1200, high end is 1900. Forward launch motor delay 50 instead of, that's like a millisecond compared to 50 milliseconds compared to a half of a second. Spin up time, stock 100. Launch min time is 0, so that means it goes until you touch your roll or your pitch. Also, launch timeout is at 10,000, so that's 10 seconds. For launch altitude is set to 0, so that means it doesn't matter what altitude it gets to. And then the nav for launch climb angle is 30. So now the one thing that I will say is the people that have it on for auto all the time, or they put it on a stick, there's two different methods. You can auto launch, and then as soon as you hit the roll or the elevator or aileron, it goes off. You can keep the switch on the whole rest of the time. It's not going to do anything for you by having it on or off. And a lot of people, what they do is they'll set their mode switch to let's say angle mode or horizon mode after that. So when it times out at 10 seconds, if they're going to get their goggles and put them on, or they're picking up their radio or whatever, it won't, when it does time out at 10 seconds or 5 seconds, it'll automatically go into angle mode. And then once it goes into angle mode, if your wing is properly set up, your flight controller is properly set up, it's going to fly straight. And that your throttle for that will be the throttle at where your actual throttle on your radio is right now. So if it's at 50% when you launch it, as soon as you launch it and it times out, it goes to acro, angle, or whatever you set it to, whatever your switch is on, and then that's that. Me personally, every time I do auto launch, which is hardly ever, but I have it set up on all my wings that have flight controllers, just for a convenience factor, to show people if they want to see it. Oh, you're flying Inav? Well, does it have auto launch? Well, yeah. Here, check it out, and then it goes up. So I like it on a switch, not automatically done every time you arm your wing, because I don't want that shit going off. I just don't want that to happen. So that's all my settings. I wanted to show you one last thing. He launches his AR, and then he launches his Z2 or his Zcon. So check this out.
Arm the wing.
Engines armed.
So there it is.
I
kind of didn't have it on the screen. That's my bad.
Engaged.
So he just hits the arm switch, and then it's already in auto launch. And this is the point. If you hit your wing,
if you would set it up as a mode,
hard, or
you have to flick
you hit
the
one of the,
for your auto
you hit the leading edge with your knee or something, the thing's going to start going.
We need to do. The first one is we need to set the throttle that we want the plane to enter once launch mode finishes.
This is good.
At this point, I do need to add in a quick warning, and that is if your launch idle is set to anything above 0, at this point the prop will start to spin before the launch. If you have it set to the default value of 0, the prop will not spin until you throw the model. So the second thing you want to do is we also want to select the flight mode that it's going to enter once the launch procedure
So he has his timed out for 10 seconds.
I want it's going to stabilize.
So he'll put it on that, and then
the last step is to give the plane a nice level throw
launch it,
and enjoy a
and it goes for 10 seconds, and it ends up in a stabilized mode. I always set my TX on the ground when auto launching, because if you knock that right stick, it will cancel auto launch. And then here's the Zcon.
Here's that launch again, but from the view of the live
let me do the Zcon right here.
As you'll see, it will climb 1,440 mil, and I do have a couple of settings a little bit different. The first one is my launch throttle is slightly lower at 85%, and the second one is that the nav launch velocity, I've just left that at default 300. Apart from these two slight differences,
I think you did a really good job on this video, so I don't want to come off sounding like we just do two different methods, but his method is good as well. I just want auto launch on a switch.
Okay, it's the same process. It's in manual, just plugged it in. Gonna arm it.
Engines armed.
As I arm it, you'll see auto launch appear. And what we're going to do again is set the mode we want it to enter after the auto launch.
Stabilize mode.
Which is angle mode. And I'm going to set my throttle. And it's ready to throw.
There you have it. Alright, so
it is 5 seconds.
I will turn that
and
off.
I doubled that to 10. Again.
Hopefully this helps. And Brian Case, this video is for you. Sorry if it's kind of all over the place or whatever, but that's kind of how I set mine up, and this is how he set his up. I think he did a good job on the video, and hopefully he doesn't get mad for me posting a little bit of his video and my video. I didn't do it for anything other than learning purposes. So there you go. And hope everybody has a good rest of the week. It's Friday, so
Golly!
that's what Gomer says.
Hell yeah.
Have a good rest of the week.